Holy crap, that thing is loud. Oh man, we're gonna need to address that. So in this video, we're gonna build a new stand for it, which will hopefully reduce the vibrations and make it a lot quieter.
I got out the old trusty Apple Watch to test the decibels. At around 85 decibels, this thing is harmful to your hearing.
Hey guys, I'm Enzo Greymane and that's Rybo behind the camera there. Welcome to the grind room. This is the room in which we've moved all of the tools that create a lot of debris, such as particulate, metal dust, all that nasty stuff, and we put it all in here to contain all of that so it doesn't contaminate the rest of the shop. The tools like the 2x72 puts out a lot of metal dust, you saw when I was grinding that sword, and as well as wood dust. The bench grinder there puts out a bunch of grit from that stone wheel and dust from the wire wheel. And the drill press here puts out all these nasty little metal shavings that get tracked everywhere. So we've decided to contain all of that into this room and keep the shop clear. One of the last things we got to do for this grind room is putting these 2x72s onto the stands. Obviously this one's really loud and not very enjoyable to use, so that needs a new stand. And this one's sitting on sawhorses, so that's going to need a new stand as well. Once the stands are done, we'll hose the ventilation up to there, and then the grind room will be finally ready. Woo!
When possible, I like to use any kind of scrap steel I have laying around for projects. I just happen to have this 5" by 5/16 inch angle iron. It seemed like a perfect candidate for this project. To create the main portion of the pedestal, my plan was to weld 2 of these pieces of angle iron back to back.
When you go to cut angle iron on a bandsaw like this is the best position to use when you're cutting it to get a straight cut. If you were to flip this down on its side where the peak is up here at the top and cut it, the blade has a tendency to drift outward, not giving you a very good cut. If you ever get serious about fabricating steel and all of that, getting into welding, this is a really good investment. This is a cold cut saw, which is really good for cutting up sheet like this. You could use a plasma cutter, but that's quite a big investment. You need a really big and nice air compressor, plus a plasma cutter. Angle grinder's not the best tool for this. You're not gonna get a super straight line, and it's really stinky, and it's not fun to use. So this is the best tool that I've found that's, relatively cheap, but it will give me a nice straight cut through sheet without any issue at all.
With the top and bottom plates cut out, it was time to make some diagonal cuts on the corners. Cutting the corners off removes any kind of sharp object from the stand. A compact bandsaw is a perfect tool for this job as it makes clean, easy cuts. Then it was time to drill holes in the corners of the bottom plate. Always use a punch prior to drilling into steel, that way the drill bit doesn't dance around on the surface. You can drill 1/2" holes into steel pretty easily by hand, but a drill press gives you an advantage in that it has a force multiplier in the handle. What I mean by that is if you're pulling down with say 20 pounds of force, it could be putting easily over 100 pounds into the workpiece. I'm able to get some pretty ridiculously long curls on a drill press.
After a couple hours of wire wheeling, making some cuts and drilling some holes, I feel like all the components are ready. We have 6 pieces here. 2 of them are the big chunks of angle iron that are going to make the main part of the pedestal. We have 2 bridges here which will connect them. They'll sit on that like there, and the other piece will sit here. And then we have 2 plates. We have the bottom one, it's 1/4 inch thick. And it has 1/2" holes for where the concrete anchors are going to go and where it will attach to the ground. The top plate I didn't do any prep work on yet because I want to get the grinder off the other table, figure out where the holes need to go, and then I'll drill it by hand after it's all welded. We're at 28 inches, so 28 divided by 3 would be 9 1/3. So let's do about 9 3/8 from that side. But those are 2 inches thick, so I want to go 1 inch on either side of that so I can actually see my mark. Do 8 3/8, 10 3/8. Should give us a pretty good estimate there. Oh, yeah. Yep, and I can just center it between those 2 marks.
Whenever I'm fabricating, I try to be as precise as possible, but I also understand that the final product might have a little bit of warpage or distortion in it from the welding. I'm not too concerned with being super precise. Also, while you can fill gaps and whatnot with filler while you're welding, any large gaps that you fill is going to add more heat into the piece, which might cause more distortion and warpage.
It looks like real close. We just need to move this way about 1/8 of an inch. Try to gently do that. I'd say that's pretty good on that side.
Unfortunately, I didn't capture the part where I tacked the bridges onto the angle iron so that it was all in one piece, but that's what I did before the next part.
Okay, on this base plate, I have a center line running lengthwise. I have 2 lines on the side where the angle irons are going to touch. That should help guide me and get it centered. So here where the corners of the angle irons are, I'm going to put those right on that center line and then put these where these 2 lines are.
I did end up capturing me tacking the angle iron onto the base. I'm kind of new to filming welding, so just bear with me. I'll figure it out eventually.
Now I'm going to weld this base plate onto a thick piece of steel I have laying around. It's 1 inch thick and it's probably about 50 pounds. Welding this base plate to it will prevent it from cupping by clamping it down and sucking the heat out of it as I'm welding.
With everything all tacked up and ready to go, it was time to put down some beads. Whenever I weld something, I try to consider the sequence at which I weld. If you weld things in not a very good order, it can cause more distortion and warpage to happen. So I like to weld things in an order that I think will address as much distortion as possible. In the case of this grinder stand, I felt like welding the bridges was the best approach because I felt like if I had started welding the angle irons onto the base before the bridges, it might have popped some of the tacks on the bridges or caused some more issues. When I put down long beads for structural steel, I like to use stringers above any other kind of like whipping techniques. It seems to give the best bond between the metal. So you can see that I don't really move the nozzle around while I'm welding.
Here I've got the base mostly welded up. I'm at the point now which I've been thinking about mounting the VFD and making kind of an adjustable VFD mount. And one thing I'm going to need to do in order to do that is to drill a hole here in this bridge up in the middle. So I'm kind of glad I have figured that out now before welding the top plate on. Otherwise it'd be really hard to get access there. So I'm going to drill a 1/2 inch hole, which will kind of create a swivel point for the VFD mount, allowing me to move it kind of forward or backwards.
So you can see that it's definitely possible to drill a 1/2 inch hole with a hand drill, but it definitely doesn't produce long curls like the drill press did. When you go to drill through a second wall of a tube, make sure you punch it so that the drill stays centered. Even though I punched the other side of the wall on this pipe before I started drilling it, it still ended up getting off kilter. When I started this project, I hadn't intended on needing to do any forging, but any excuse to do some forging is a great excuse. So I decided that in order to get this swivel going over the bridge, I wanted to forge out kind of a U-shaped piece of steel. I started out by forging a pretty simple bend, and then I used some dies to kind of help form the steel to the shape that I wanted. Being able to forge steel into different kinds of shapes, I feel like is a really big boon for fabrication. There are a lot of shapes and objects that are kind of hard to create by just welding alone. Here's the part of forging in which I grew a 3rd arm. I highly recommend it for other blacksmiths out there. With a little heating and beating, we got this piece of steel looking real nice. I think it'll make a perfect swivel point. And then it was back to the drill press to drill out some holes on this U-shaped hardware. I drilled out 1/2 inch holes to match the holes that were on the bridge. I also wire wheeled it after drilling it.
I've nearly got the swivel hardware completed. You can see here that the U-shaped thing that I forged has been put over the bridge and a bolt put through it with some holes, which allows me to swivel this whole arm, which is 1 inch square tube with some cut lines there. That's where the VFD will go on another swivel connection. So I got the welding done on this thing. I wire wheeled it to get all the rust off, wiped it down with acetone, made sure to grind off all the little weld splatter BBs, and now we're painting it. Thank goodness. This is one of the last steps we got to do before we start mounting the actual grinder onto it and putting it in its final home. What do you guys think of my little homemade spray booth? It's pretty ghetto, right?
I'm not sure why, but spray painting things is like one of my favorite parts of the process. It's almost like when snow covers the ground and it just makes everything look pretty. Whenever I paint steel, I always paint it first with some primer. That way I can make sure that the rust doesn't get to it. My plan is to come back one day and add some color onto this thing.
In the final stretch, we just got to drill out these holes before we can attach the grinder onto the stand.
After drilling out these holes on the top of the grinder stand and trying to align the holes on the grinder with them, I realized that they were a bit off. I ended up having to hit them with the carbide burr a little bit. That way I could get all the bolts to go in.
All right, we got the grinder in the spot I wanted. We got it on top of the pedestal temporarily. Now it's time to mark the holes in the concrete. And once we get those drilled out and the anchors inside of that, we'll be able to mount it. I'm also going to use a little bit of this rubber matting as a gasket between the concrete and the base of the stand. So we got the rubber mat under there and cut it, but the issue with the rubber mat is when we go to put this in place and we want to line it up with the holes in the concrete, the rubber mat kind of gets in the way from doing that alignment. So what we've done is we just put the 1/2-inch drill bit onto the drill, and I'm using the holes that are already in the base as a guide to just drill through that rubber. You can see that I have wood underneath it, so it just cuts that rubber out perfectly clean. Otherwise that rubber just kind of boogers up and it's hard to get out of there.
I busted out the hole hog to drill some 1/2-inch holes into the concrete. This part always makes me nervous because drilling holes into concrete can potentially weaken it, and cracks tend to form between the holes that you drill. However, I think the holes are spaced out far enough that it shouldn't create any issues.
What we have here are some female threaded concrete anchors, and the reason why I like these is because once you insert these, if I have to move the grinder stand or something around, there's going to be nothing sticking above the level of the concrete. Most other concrete anchors would be a male threaded stud coming out of the concrete. But these are super easy to install. Once you have the hole drilled, you just drop them in. Use this punch tool. Put that in there. And go until you don't feel it go any further. Also, when you tighten the bolt down from the top, it'll keep pushing that plug in, splaying out the anchor and tighten it even more. All right, looks like we're pretty well lined up. Looks like maybe only one or two might have an issue. If we do have an issue, what I do is I take a carbide burr and slightly slot out the holes in the base to be slightly larger so that it will line up with the threading within the concrete.
With the rubber gasket cut out and drilled, the stand ready to go, it was time to slide everything into place and bolt it down. It took a second to get all the holes aligned, but after that it was just a matter of putting in the fasteners. I had bought 2 sets of fasteners at different lengths, and they both weren't ideal, and I kind of needed the one in between them. So I'll probably go back to the hardware store at some point and get the proper length fasteners. With that bolted down, it was time to move on to mounting the VFD.
Slide that on. Oh, I used the burr on the bottom hole a little bit the other night, so it moves much better.
The swivel arm for the VFD was really easy to install. I just slid the U-shaped hardware over the bridge, installed the bolt, and then put a nut on it. Anytime I'm using a fastener in a situation where it might experience a lot of vibration, I always use a nylon stop nut. This will prevent the nut from vibrating off of the fastener.
Oh yeah, it's so smooth. All right, moment we've all been waiting for. Dun, 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 dun. How's it look, Rabo?
It looks awesome. Yeah.
Sick.
It looks like it's just free floating off to the side of it. Looks like home. Where it's meant to be.
It's a little wobbly, but I could probably tighten it.
Yeah.
I'll have to go grab my watch here in a minute so we can do the official reading. Well, let's see how, normally I had to hold the table down to put the belt tension on here, so. Oh, that's solid. I like that. All right. Well, what's going on there?
What is going on there?
Oh, it's this bottom one.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
It's because we always leave it on, that's all right.
Yeah. I've never used that switch.
I do. Oh, wow. Come on, baby.
70, 80, 90, 100. That's way better.
That's like, I think that's just for fun. I swear to God. That's amazing.
That's way better.
So much better.
So much better. I mean, just having all that room. Just look at it. It just looks. Yeah. I'm happy.
That's amazing.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. Congrats. It's beautiful. We love it.
Yes.
And just so you know that we aren't pulling your leg, here's proof that it's quite a bit quieter. At 4 or 5 decibels quieter, that's a pretty big improvement, especially when you understand how the decibel ratings work. We nearly got Rybo's grinder stand done, but you can see here that it still needs to be painted and the grinder mounted onto it. So that'll be showcased in a future video in which I'm going to go over the whole entire design of the grind room, from the air filtration, the lights, and so on. So if you want to see this grinder completed, come by later and come check that out. Let's put a bow on this project and roll the beauty shots. The new grinder stand is rock solid, it's much quieter, and boasts a one-of-a-kind adjustable VFD mount, practical and built to last. Whether you know me as Enzo Greymane, the Wily Wizard, or Night Owl Forge, you can always count on me to transmute raw steel into something extraordinary. Until next time, keep grinding, keep building, and stay inspired.